Welcome now to the Imus Morning program. Congressman Darrell Issa from out there in California. Congressman Issa is, of course, chairman of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Good morning, Congressman Issa.
Good morning, Don. Remember, you had me on when I was just the guy trying to get a job here in Washington.
You know, yes, sir, I remember that. They tell me in the office, they said you're a lot harder to book now that you've acceded to this lofty position there in the House. But that's fine. We're very happy to have you.
I'll give you my home number. Call any time in the morning. Just don't mind when I'm groggy when you wake me up for your show.
You know, I was born in Riverside, California, which I think you represent, right?
I do. I go all the way up to March Air Force Base, and if you want to come back anytime and do it live from my district, I'll make arrangements.
And I was in the Marine Corps at Camp Pendleton, you know, killing Viet Cong in the jungles of, well, no, I wasn't. I was playing the bugle. Anyway, so you're just back from a...
Hey, look,
before we talk about
look,
Egypt...
if you want to come back to Camp Pendleton, we're absolutely happy to have you on base.
You're just back from Afghanistan. Tell me about that.
Well, Afghanistan is sort of a mixed story. We've dialed in the right solutions, province by province, area by area, sort of going back to your Viet Cong reference. We're doing a pretty good job of converting cities to places in which the city is in control. But of course, Afghanistan is incredibly corrupt all the way to the very top. You've just had the brothers of the president and vice president raid $1 billion nearly from the Kabul bank. So you've got that mixed, you know, our partner is not necessarily a good partner. Pakistan, similarly, on one hand, we're training Pakistanis how to secure their own communities, and on the other hand, they're holding one of our diplomats in violation of international law. Iraq is actually, of all the places we visited, probably the best story. We really are standing up and leaving. By the end of the year, we'll only have 157 officers, military personnel still there. There'll obviously be a large embassy and a lot of civilian trainers, but we really are leaving Iraq with Iraq able to take care of itself in a democratic way for the first time in a generation.
Back to Afghanistan, which doesn't sound like it has the potential to be the same sort of success story that apparently Iraq is in your view, but what do you see in Afghanistan happening?
Well, Afghanistan's biggest problem is that the vast assets they have, and they have tremendous mineral wealth and so on, can really only be exploited if you have honest government to do the contracting, not just sell out copper mines to the Chinese in return for a Swiss account deposit, and if they can begin educating their people. They have a literacy rate that is almost a rounding error for zero. We're having to train their military by teaching them what button to push, teaching them how to drive, and literally they can't count and they can't read and they can't write. And that's a fundamental problem of huge proportion in Afghanistan. It makes it a very long slog, probably to 2014 or 2015, which is the estimate from the Obama administration right now on how long it'll take before they can stand up on their own fully.
18 till the hour, talking with Congressman Darrell Issa from California. President and administration, and, well, us, in a tough position on Egypt. What's your view of that?
Well, you know, one of the problems in the Middle East is they're never sure that we're a steady ally, that we're consistent, that we don't make changes quickly. And when that phone rang at 3 in the morning, obviously they got 3 different messages and they were very different. Egypt is not a different country than it was under the previous 5 presidents. It's not a country that suddenly became a dictatorship or suddenly became not good enough to dissidents. It is a country that is poor, that had a 6% GDP growth for each of the last 2 years, that is privatizing, that's doing an awful lot of things that are good, but it is in fact a government that is not a democracy. If we want President Mubarak to transition, as I believe we all do, he's 82 years old, it's getting to be time, that we have to do it in a way that doesn't suddenly throw him out as though the last 30 years we've been not his supporter. That's something I think the administration is beginning to redial, to realize that even 1 million people on the street, most of them are really not complaining about an absence of an election in the last couple of years. They're complaining about the growth that they see in their economy, as good as it is still leaving them a very poor nation, and they see better on television.
Yeah, but if they don't like Mubarak, and they don't, I mean, they may be complaining about whatever, but they don't like him. And they get the sense that we do. I mean, I understand the position we're in, and then they take over, and Suleiman maybe they rally around him. I mean, it seems like an impossible situation for this country because what do you do? So it's like me like trying to pick somebody in an election. I'm getting Frank Lunson pouring over the polls trying to see who's ahead before I'm. And that seems like what we're doing. I mean, we don't like Mubarak. We've never liked him. So.
Oh, absolutely. He has been sort of the only game in town, not even having a vice president for the last 30 years. And Suleiman is not a replacement.
Which, by the way, most of the time we could do without, a vice president. But go ahead.
Well, what we need is a team of people who are dealing with various parts of the economy, various diplomatic issues, various security issues, and it can't be just a military leader behind the scenes. So reestablishing a new parliament, a strong parliament with a prime minister that really does run the government is something that needs to happen. And when the attack came, if you will, on the Mubarak government, the first thing he did was dismiss a parliament that included a pretty progressive prime minister and a number of liberalization, economic liberalization in Egypt. So in some ways, these demonstrations may have hurt a direction for the economy. A transition from where we are in Egypt to where we need to be over the rest of the year is a transition that will be pretty quick. And I think that America should stand behind free and fair elections. It should stand behind a liberalization of the media there. But at the same time, let's have an evolution, not a revolution. We don't need another Iran.
Well, it may be out of our control. Anyway, Congressman Issa, thank you very much. Don't go all Hollywood on us now. Tell your staff.
I won't, but...
Say, we were down with you when you were nobody, so.
Yeah, Don, as long as you send your listeners to AmericanJobCreators.com and they watch my hearing today as we listen to job creators tell us what it takes to really get America working again, I'll be back as often as you want me.
You got it. Thank you, Congressman. 14 till the hour.
Thanks, Don.